He served her an eviction notice without even asking questions. But what he didn't know, she owned the entire building. She was just a struggling single mom, or so he thought. Her name is Leah, a single mother of two, recently unemployed, juggling everything life threw at her with quiet strength. Her life wasn't always this way. After their second son was born, Leah's husband lost his job. What began as frustration soon turned into blame. He started disappearing for days at a time, leaving no explanation, no reassurance. Then one day, he simply vanished. No note, no message, just silence. Leah waited, hoped, prayed. But eventually, she accepted the truth. She was on her own. Then, not long after, she lost her job at a logistics firm during a round of mass layoffs. With 2 growing boys and bills stacking up, she made the difficult decision to downsize. She packed what she could carry and moved into an old apartment building on the east side of town. Just her kids, and what was left of her savings. The unit was nothing special. Peeling walls, a leaky tap, heating that barely worked. But it was hers for now. She paid her first rent on time, launched a small online hustle selling handmade crafts, and quietly focused on getting back on her feet. Her landlord, Mr. Jenkins, ran the place like a petty tyrant, mid-60s, always frowning, always in a rush, and always looking for a reason to criticize tenants. To him, anyone who was late on rent was a problem. No conversation, no compassion. He had a reputation. Everyone in the building knew it. Just a few weeks before, a mother of 4 from the 3rd floor, Maria, had approached Jenkins after her youngest child was hospitalized. Her part-time hours had been cut, and she asked for a week's extension on rent. He didn't even let her finish. "This is a business, not a daycare," he snapped. "If you can't pay, don't stay." 2 days later, she was on the curb with her children and their belongings. No warning, no help. So when Leah's bank transfer was delayed by 5 days, because her freelance payment came in late, Jenkins didn't waste time. No phone call, no knock of concern, just a folded eviction notice shoved into her hands. "You have 48 hours to vacate the property," he said coldly. "You people think you can stay here for free? Not on my watch. Freeloaders don't belong in my building." He didn't ask about her kids. He didn't ask about the delay. He didn't even look her in the eye. Leah didn't argue. She thanked him quietly, closed the door, and sat on the floor, staring at the paper for a long moment. Then she stood, picked up her phone, and made a call. "Hi, I'm ready. Let's go ahead with the paperwork." The next morning, Jenkins was seen boasting to his assistant by the stairwell. "Did you see her face? Thought she could play the sympathy card. I've been doing this for years. She'll learn." What he didn't know, that call Leah made wasn't to beg for help. It was to her family's lawyer. The building Jenkins managed, it had belonged to Leah's late father. For years, it was held in a family trust, managed by a holding company. Leah had been taking her time, healing from her father's passing, and keeping a low profile as she figured out her next move. Now, the paperwork was ready. She had just signed the final ownership documents days before the eviction notice arrived. Legally and officially, she now owned the entire building. So she did what any quiet powerhouse would do. She walked into the property management office, this time not as a tenant, but as the landlord. Daniel, the kind older property manager who had worked under Jenkins for years, recognized her instantly. "Leah?" he asked, confused. She smiled. "Yes, we need to talk." The following week, Daniel called a meeting of all supervisory staff, including Mr. Jenkins. He told Jenkins it was about resolving a tenant dispute. Jenkins showed up 10 minutes late, loud and dismissive. "I don't have all day. What's the issue now?" He walked in and stopped. There she was, Leah, seated at the head of the table. On her left, her attorney. On her right, Daniel, the property manager. She looked up, calm, composed. "Mr. Jenkins," she said, "please have a seat." He froze. "This must be a mistake," he stammered. "What's she doing here?" "She's your boss," Daniel said simply. Leah opened a folder. She read documented complaints from multiple tenants about intimidation, threats, and neglect. She quoted sections of the lease Jenkins had routinely violated. Then she looked him in the eye for the first time. You judge me without knowing anything about me. You didn't ask. You didn't care. You just assumed. She slid a paper across the table. Termination of contract. Effective immediately. The room fell silent. Jenkins's face went pale. I don't understand, he whispered. You don't have to, Leah said. But you will leave. Today. She stood, shook hands with her attorney, and left the room, dignity intact. Word spread fast. At first, no one believed it. But within days, things started to change. Repairs began on neglected hallways. Plumbing was fixed. The heating worked again. Leah met with every tenant personally. She listened to their concerns. She waved rent for families struggling most. And then she turned the empty basement into something more, a daycare center, run by volunteers and rotating staff. It gave single parents a safe, affordable place to leave their children while they worked. The building transformed. So did the neighborhood, block parties, shared meals. People who used to avoid each other now planned cleanups together. Leah didn't just take over a building. She rebuilt a community. She never raised her voice. She never retaliated. She just moved with quiet strength. And her story became a symbol of resilience, of grace, and a power that doesn't need to shout. Years later, one of her sons asked, Mom, why didn't you just tell Mr. Jenkins you own the place when he gave you the notice? She smiled gently. Because sometimes, she said, it's more powerful to let people reveal who they are before you reveal who you are. So the next time someone underestimates you, talks down to you, or writes you off, remember Leah, remember Grace, and remember this. Never underestimate someone just because you don't know their full story. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, because grace isn't weakness, and power doesn't always shout.